A journey of 1,000 miles must begin with one single step. And that's a quote attributed to this guy, Lao Tse, who is a Chinese philosopher. And I'm in the garden of philosophy in Budapest, on Gellért Hill in Budapest. And I suppose you can argue all day as to whether this is actually a garden or not. I will tell you that it is, because it represents so much that we look at and want to see in gardens. And we're just going to have a look around this small little haven on the banks of the Danube. My name is Jim, and you're welcome again to the Contrary Fuchsia. The Garden of Philosophy, or the statues themselves, were made and designed by a man called Nander Wagner, who was a Hungarian sculptor living in Japan. And there's an interesting story behind him in its own right. But he was living in Japan with his Japanese wife and designed the garden there, and then moved everything from Japan to here. And it has a representation of all the founders of the world's major religions, or at least major figures in the world's major religions, and we'll just go around them. Lying down there is Abraham, because when he spoke to God, he always covered his face, something I didn't know, I have to say. Akhenaten has reformed ancient Egypt into what is a monotheistic state religion now. Jesus Christ, whom most people in Ireland will have had bait into him at one stage, but he is regarded by Christians as the incarnation of God. You can see somebody's been here lighting candle underneath it as well. And I'm sure people use all these things to help them to reflect. The Buddha, or the awakened one, is the founder of Buddhism, and Lao Tse, who's a Chinese philosopher, and has attributed quotes to him that we use in everyday life almost. And he's a Taoist monk and founder. And they're all standing around. If I just move outside the circle, and you can see in the center there's an orb, and that symbolizes the divine essence that represents all the traits common to the world religions. And it's there also to symbolize the importance of understanding each other. And isn't that something that we need today more than anything? To actually sit down and to understand each other, to listen, simply to listen. So this is the park that is around the Garden of Philosophy. It's not for the faint of heart. There's a fair old climb up here, and I'm sure there is a shorter way or a different way that you come up that's less than the climb that I came from, St. Elizabeth, or the Elizabeth Bridge, which is down there in full view of the Parliament buildings. The sights and sound around here are amazing. It's a bit of an overcast day, fair enough, but nonetheless, it's a gloriously crisp, cold day. And you can see not all the leaves have fallen off the trees yet, which is quite amazing. So they are showing a nice bit of autumn colour. But the Garden of Philosophy is set up here. What is philosophy? Well, the Oxford English Dictionary says it's the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline. And I suppose when you think about it, that's what all religions are really. And that's what the Garden of Philosophy represents. There's a an image here of all the major religions in the world, except for Islam. And I look for a reason as to why, but there doesn't seem to be a reason. The only thing that I can think of is that Islam does not like iconography. So maybe that's the reason that there isn't one. But we'll have a look at each of these individual statues. We'll have a look around the garden. We'll have a chat about the philosophy that's here. Now, the story behind the location of the garden is as fascinating, really, as the history of the religions that are represented. And underneath this hill where I'm standing on, I'm at the highest point of it now, are healing springs and a reservoir which supplies the city with water, which of course in every religion is the source, in everything, is the source of all life. So the reservoir's two colonnades are held by 108 columns each, and it's a complete coincidence, coinciding with the fact that the path to nirvana in the Buddhist religion is laden with 108 temptations. I'm not going to name them all because I've probably fallen into all of them, but 108 temptations of an earthly nature. And Zen priests wear beads around their waist. You may often have seen them, and I'm open to correction, but I think they have 108 beads on them. That was a question that I knew in a quiz one time, but I didn't know the relevance of the number 108, and of course never looked it up. And water is also a symbol, of course, of purification, and as I say, is almost a central trait to all religions. And again, sitting up here, this is, you just sit down and watch the world go by, you know, reflect on things. I think reflection is really important. You can hear the lunacy going on down in the city there with sirens and all sorts of things. That building there is the Hungarian National Parliament, and the mighty Danube is just beyond that. So it's a pretty amazing place just to come and sit. And there's quite a few people here. I don't suppose you get too many moments of peace, but at the same time, I suppose religion, if you like religion and if you're into your religion, it can provide incredible peace to people. It can provide an awful lot of answers to what's going on in the world. And as I say, I've often said that the world is in a very dangerous place right now, and maybe we need a little bit more, not necessarily religion, but we certainly need a bit more philosophy and thinking about the direction in which we want planet Earth to go. The garden, as I look up the history, it was started in 1977 in Japan, and Nanda Wagner's philosophy was to signify universal human teaching and that the five wake up the one, which is represented by the orb. And the one, hopefully, it is hoped that will invoke an understanding between the five major religions. And I would argue that there's a sixth major religion which isn't here, but that they all understand each other, and that really that we all our philosophy, we all end up back at the one.